In recent days, geologists around the world have been observing a terrifying spectacle. Europe's highest volcano has broken its silence with an explosion that was heard throughout the Mediterranean. A column of volcanic ash over 6,000 meters high covered all of Sicily in a matter of hours. Red-hot debris the size of cars fell from the sky within a radius of tens of kilometers from the crater. But Etna is only the beginning of a global catastrophe that is unfolding right now. Over the past 3 months, the planet has recorded an anomalous surge in volcanic activity. May 25th, a Hawaiian volcano awakened, throwing out 300-meter fountains of lava. May 21st, near Naples, the strongest earthquake in 40 years occurred in the area of the Campi Flegrei supervolcano, the very same one that 40,000 years ago covered a third of Europe with ash and nearly destroyed humanity. Scientists are recording an alarming pattern. The global level of seismic activity has reached extreme values 4 times in recent months. The Earth's crust is entering a phase of instability not seen since the last ice age. Today, we will tell the truth about what is happening in the depths of the Earth in Europe, why 2025 could become a turning point, and whether Europe is ready for the awakening of a supervolcano that could change the face of the entire European continent in a single day. This monster reminded the world why it is called Europe's most dangerous volcano. In a matter of hours, what began as routine observation turned into a terrifying spectacle of enormous proportions. A column of volcanic ash soared to a height of 6,400 meters, higher than most passenger aircraft fly. The ash cloud covered all of Sicily, while red-hot rock fragments the size of cars fell from the sky like a meteorite shower. But the most striking thing is how long the world ignored Etna's true power. Yes, everyone knew it was an active volcano. Tourists came here in droves to take selfies against the backdrop of the smoking mountain. It seemed that Etna was just beautiful scenery, a harmless giant that occasionally coughed out smoke for effect. The night of June 20, 2025 changed everything. At 10:00 p.m. local time, the ground began to shake. And then something happened that no one expected. Part of the crater collapsed on the southeastern summit, causing a pyroclastic flow. A pyroclastic flow is not just beautiful words from a geology textbook. It is a deadly mixture of gases, ash, and rock fragments that races at speeds up to 700 kilometers at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. This is what turns everything living to ash in seconds and what is impossible to escape from. Authorities immediately declared a red level of aviation danger, the maximum possible. For now, luck was on people's side. The wind direction carried the cloud away from Catania Airport. However, this fragile balance could have been disrupted at any second. If the wind had changed direction, one of southern Europe's largest airports would have turned into a dead zone. Etna began what volcanologists call a strombolian eruption. Specialists constantly monitored the seismic situation, understanding that such eruptions have an unpleasant feature: they can gradually intensify. What begins as a relatively harmless eruption can turn into a planetary-scale catastrophe within hours. But this was only the beginning of the story. Etna showed only a small part of its true power, and scientists around the world froze in anticipation. What would happen next? Geologists call Etna a stratovolcano, a term that conceals monstrous fear. A stratovolcano consists of multiple layers of solidified lava, volcanic ash, and dust accumulated over millennia. Each layer is a memory of a catastrophe that changed the face of Sicily. Throughout its half-million-year history, Etna has experienced about 200 recorded eruptions, but in the last 100 years, it has become much more active. To understand Etna's true danger, one must look into its internal structure. The volcano is located at the collision point of 2 tectonic plates, African and Eurasian. The African plate gradually sinks under the Eurasian one, its edges melting in the Earth's molten depths at temperatures exceeding 1,200 degrees Celsius. This process creates colossal pressure. Etna's height is 3,295 meters above sea level, making it 2.5 times higher than the famous Vesuvius. Interestingly, the volcano can be compared to a high-performance internal combustion engine. It also undergoes processes of energy accumulation, pressure buildup, and subsequent release. One day, it might be just picturesque smoke above the crater, and the next, a powerful ejection of lava and ash requiring urgent evacuation. But height is only the visible part of the iceberg. The volcano's base occupies an area of 1,190 kilometers squared, larger than London's area. The figures associated with Etna are mind-boggling. In terms of power, it ranks 10th among all volcanoes in the world. Over the past 100 years, several catastrophic eruptions have been recorded here, each of which could have changed the course of history. To understand Etna's place in the hierarchy of planetary threats, it's worth comparing it with other volcanic giants. Mount Vesuvius, which buried Pompeii in 79 AD, looks like a hill next to a mountain compared to Etna. Vesuvius's height is only 1,281 meters versus Etna's 3,295 meters. The real monsters are located in other parts of the world. Compared to supervolcanoes, Etna seems relatively harmless, but it is precisely this apparent harmlessness that makes it especially dangerous. People have become accustomed to the constant activity of this volcano, perceiving it as part of daily life. Meanwhile, geological processes continue to accumulate energy in the mountain's depths. Modern monitoring methods show alarming trends. Since 1942, Etna has grown by 26 meters, a sign that the magma chamber is filling faster than it empties. Satellite data records slow but constant deformation of the Earth's surface in the volcano area. Modern Etna is one of the most studied volcanoes on the planet. It is surrounded by a network of hundreds of sensors that monitor the slightest changes around the clock. Seismographs record underground tremors. GPS stations track deformation of the Earth's surface. Spectrometers analyze the composition of gases emerging from the crater. But even the most modern technologies do not provide a 100% guarantee. The eruption of June 20, 2025 caught even experienced volcanologists off guard. There were preliminary signs, but their intensity did not herald such a powerful ejection. Economists have calculated that complete evacuation of the zone around Etna would cost tens of billions of euros. Therefore, Sicilian authorities chose a strategy of managed risk. Insurance companies have developed special policies for residents of volcanic zones. Insurance costs can reach 10–15% of property value, a price many are willing to pay for the right to live in paradise with a view of hell. Etna's history is written in horror. Over the past 100 years, this volcano has given humanity several warnings about its true power, and each was increasingly threatening. Analyzing these events, scientists try to predict what awaits us in the future and what this volcano is actually capable of. Modern volcanology began precisely with the study of Etna. The first systematic observations started in the late 19th century when a volcanic observatory was built. November 6, 1928, Etna's lava reached the city of Mascali and practically buried it. Only a small part survived, preserved in modern San Antonio. The 1950–51 eruption became record-breaking in duration, 372 days of continuous activity. During this time, 171 million cubic meters of lava were released. April 5, 1971, Etna taught a lesson in humility to the entire scientific community. The eruption began suddenly and quickly reached monstrous intensity. The first victim was the volcanic observatory itself. Lava engulfed the building in a few hours, destroying a decade of research and priceless scientific data. But this was only the beginning. In June, 7 more craters opened, from which magma simultaneously poured. The picture resembled biblical descriptions of hell. The Earth literally split at the seams, releasing the planet's molten depths. March 28, 1983 began one of the most dramatic episodes in the history of humanity's struggle with nature. In the morning, seismographs recorded powerful underground tremors. By noon, a 2-kilometer-long crack formed on the southern slope, from which lava flowed. Then Italian authorities made an unprecedented decision to try to stop the lava with explosives. May 14, 1983 at 4:00 a.m., the first directed explosion in history against a lava flow was carried out. Several tons of dynamite were used, hoping to change the course of the fiery river. The experiment succeeded only partially. The lava changed direction for several hours, but then broke through the artificial embankment and continued moving. Several more explosions and the construction of concrete dams were required to finally stop the flow. The eruption ended only on August 6, 1983, after 130 days of continuous activity. At the turn of the millennium, Etna seemed to decide to mark humanity's new era with a grandiose eruption. January 26, 2000 at 2:00 a.m., an earthquake began, followed by the opening of a new crack on the southeastern slope. Over the next 6 months, 60 periods of activity were registered. As a result of this eruption, 2 new craters formed that still exist today. The real apocalypse began October 26, 2002. After 14 months of relative calm, the volcano awakened with doubled fury. October 29th, an event occurred that shocked geologists worldwide. The volcano shifted. Its eastern coast moved several tens of centimeters. Imagine, a mountain weighing billions of tons shifted like a toy block. At 11:00 a.m. that same day, a terrible earthquake struck Santa Venerina. In 1 second, 2,600 people lost their homes. December 16th, lava reached the power plant. The explosion was visible for tens of kilometers. Red-hot debris scattered 500 meters in all directions. This eruption ended only on January 29, 2003, after 95 days of continuous activity. Etna's paradox lies in the fact that it simultaneously brings death and life. The soil around the volcano is so fertile that local residents get record harvests. Vineyards yield grapes for producing famous Sicilian wine, which is valued worldwide precisely because of the unique volcanic soil. This creates a devilish dilemma. People cannot move away from the volcano because the land here is too generous. They know about the danger, but economic benefit outweighs fear. The eruption of Etna on June 20, 2025 is not a local Sicilian problem. It is a warning that the planet is entering a new era of volcanic activity. The climate changes we observe around the world create conditions for awakening sleeping giants. Recently, scientists established an alarming pattern. Periods of global warming in Earth's history were often accompanied by surges in volcanic activity. Melting glaciers change pressure on the Earth's crust, while rising sea levels affect tectonic processes. Moreover, Etna is not the only volcano sending alarming signals this year. May 25th, Kilauea awakened again in Hawaii, one of the most active volcanoes in the Pacific region. The Phlegraean fields near Naples demonstrate all signs of approaching awakening. May 21st, the strongest earthquake in 40 years occurred here, followed by another 150 tremors. Once, the eruption of the Campi Flegrei supervolcano covered 150,000 kilometers of Europe with ash. Characteristic fragments of that magma were found even in Greenland at a distance of 4,500 kilometers from the epicenter. Then, a volcanic winter came to Europe, which became one of the causes of extinction of enormous numbers of people. Modern climate models paint frightening scenarios of events. If Etna transitions to a super eruption phase, the consequences will affect the entire Mediterranean region. Clouds of volcanic ash will cover most of Europe, paralyzing people's lives for months or even years. But the real threat lies in the cascade effect. A major eruption of one volcano can trigger activity in others. Geologists record alarming statistics. Over recent months, the global level of seismic activity has reached extreme values 4 times. According to statistics, if more than one earthquake of magnitude 7 or higher occurs per month, this already causes concern among scientists. In 2025, we observe an anomalous number of seismic events in a short period, a sign that the Earth's crust is entering a phase of instability. Economists have calculated scenarios of impact even from an average eruption on the world economy. Remember the situation with the Icelandic volcano in 2010? Then, due to ash, more than 100,000 flights were canceled and damage amounted to $5 billion. An Etna eruption could be tens of times worse. Scientists harbor no illusions. Major volcanic eruptions are inevitable. New data on supervolcano eruptions show that they are capable of causing a volcanic winter lasting decades across the entire planet. Cinema and media for half of the 20th century told us that nuclear war would destroy everyone, if not with explosions, then with radioactive rain and nuclear winter. Nuclear winter, according to writers, was supposed to come from the fires of cities burned by nuclear strikes. Soot would rise up, block out the sun, and as a result, years of light frosts at the equator and -50 in temperate zones. Funny, but in these same years, scientists around the world assert nuclear weapons cannot do anything like that, but something else is quite capable, and these are supervolcanoes like Etna or Yellowstone.